My name is Drew. As a little kid, I sat for hours in my room with a tape recorder. That explains my education, first love, and first career, broadcasting. I'm doing what I love, helping people make great online content. This is DrewVOX Talks. Welcome back. I'm Drew Nageleisen. This is DrewVOX Talks. Our topic is your online presence, relationships. Let's talk about creating. The most fundamental attribute of a successful business is relationships. It's that simple. Businesses are creating mutually beneficial relationships between their customers and themselves. Okay, so what about sales, marketing, and customer service? All a part of creating and supporting these relationships and managing expectations. Little story. When I was a kid, there were 2 hardware stores in my hometown. They were about a block apart on the main street. My dad always went to the store that was just a little further away from our house. We'd walk in the door, and the older lady, Lucy, who worked there, would say hello and give us a big smile and a wave. Or maybe it was Larry, the owner, and the fact that he always had the time to help us. It's been too long, and I just don't remember the names of the other employees, but they were all generally friendly and helpful. When we went into the other hardware store, we were greeted professionally and in a friendly way because it was a small town, but it just had a little different vibe. So we generally went to Larry's store. They both sold basically the same items for very similar prices. My dad liked how he felt about his store and the employees, especially Lucy. She immigrated from Germany and always gave us a hard time about the anglicized pronunciation of our very German last name. We always thought we were kidding, but then she also wasn't. She was a proud German. So it was a fun little thing that all the members of our family experienced with Lucy. In fact, I think almost all of us have similar memories and experiences with companies now. We do business with people who make us feel good and avoid organizations that don't. Sometimes those interactions are necessary, like government agencies or going to a hospital. I ran across an interesting statistic from January 2021 from datareportal.com. It said 3.96 billion people are on social media. That was a billion with a B. Almost 4 billion people were using social media in July of 2020. Furthermore, 1 million people join every day. They state that the most popular platforms currently include Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. There is a pretty significant overlap among these platforms. They go on to say that the aim of social media posts now is changing from trying to reach a new audience to reaching existing audiences in new contexts. As the pandemic evolved, digital adoption accelerated as people continued to spend more time doing things on their connected devices. The explosion of home offices, lockdowns, and homeschooling changed people's search behaviors forever and their habits. The numbers are staggering. 51% of the Earth's population is on social media. Almost 60% of the world's population is connected to the internet, and 2/3 of us have a mobile phone. Let that sink in. Those are huge numbers. One report broke these numbers down to the time the planet was on the internet in 2020. The entire human species was online for a cumulative 1.25 billion years. Wow. Okay, so let's try to put that into perspective for a second. Take the number of hours all of humanity was connected in 2020 and add them up, and then allocate them to one person. That one person would have been online for 1.25 billion years. That's a lot of screen time, I'll tell you. You're grounded, son. After the initial wave of lockdowns, people's reliance and use of personal devices continues to increase. About half of us increased our time watching online streaming services like Netflix or Amazon Prime, and more than 4 out of 10 of us say that they are spending more time on social media and messaging platforms. The habit has already formed and continues to expand. Experts are saying that these new behaviors will continue post-pandemic. Ooh, are we in the Matrix? I doubt it. I don't have super cool sunglasses and an awesome leather trench coat. My martial arts skills are also not up to par, I suspect. But we are more and more connected to the online world, just don't have the cybernetic enhancements or things that plug into the back of our brains. Marketers are putting that context in mind. They see an opportunity to deliver similar benefits, experiences, and outcomes through digital marketing activities and content. So what does this mean to the hardware store, the little independent shoe store, restaurants, and other bricks and mortar businesses? Most think online ads are a great opportunity to capitalize on this trend. And yeah, they're useful. However, they really are just efficient interruptions of your audience's time. Some gains will be made, but there is a much larger opportunity. When we purposefully add value to our audience's day-to-day lives by helping them enhance their lives and make them easier, we become integrated into their habits. Remember, social media accounts for more than 30% of our connected time. Now, when we dig deeper and look at social media statistics, Facebook still dominates with 2.5 billion monthly users. The next 6 largest platforms report 1 billion active monthly users each. That's a lot. The report also shows that the average social media user around the world has accounts on 9 different platforms. There's a lot of overlap between channels, so it's important to realize that adding a bunch of smaller channels will not substantially improve your results. In fact, focusing on a small number, maybe 2 or 3 of the largest platforms, will reach your audience. This is where we need to concentrate our organic social media activities and for paid advertising as well. Okay, so what about the other platforms? It is important to understand your target's audience and speak to them on the platforms they use. Preferences vary by geography, age, gender, and interests. Developing customer personas helps you to understand them. There is a link in the description to a form for you to use. From there, you can do market research to find insights on demographics for specific platforms. I have links to a few in the description as well. For example, gamers and tech viewers are more likely to use Reddit and Twitch, but will still also use Instagram and TikTok. Posts on the more specialized platforms will likely do better because you're speaking to them in their home ecosystem and they visit that one more regularly than the other platforms. Our focus on a few big platforms should not exclude the activities on the more specialized platforms. Rather, it is more important for prioritizing your efforts to maximize your results. Paid ads on smaller, more niche platforms may end up damaging your brand by too much repetition, and that's very annoying to a whole lot of people. Remember, people are on 9 platforms on average, so there will be significant overlap, especially between smaller platforms like Reddit compared to Instagram. Another factor to think about is the language people are using to search. The proliferation of technologies that employ speech recognition are changing how people search. 70% of Google's assistant queries are in natural, spoken language instead of a series of typed keywords. This change means our approach to SEO and SEM needs to evolve as well. This underlines the importance that content needs to follow natural language structures to be most effective. When a voice interface reads the search results, there's a good chance that people will be exposed to only one search result. Now SEO becomes more and more important, doesn't it? The pandemic also has put the spotlight on audiences doing product research and gathering news on social networks. They are the number 2 source, slightly behind search engines. So this shines a big spotlight on the type of content you create and where you place it. The numbers I've shared are staggering and a little intimidating. I've been asked, how can I, a small business owner with already too much on my plate, compete? Planning. Planning is my answer. Sounds kind of smug, doesn't it? Well, really, it's quite simple. If you haven't already done it, creating a marketing plan that identifies your customer or customers using the customer persona sheet is the very first step. This sometimes irritating, time-consuming activity pays off your time investment exponentially down the road. You'll understand their needs, where they go to satisfy them, problems that they want to solve, and how they look for solutions, and what their wants are. Remember that hardware store story at the beginning of this episode? You'll be more like Larry and his staff. That place your customer returns because they like you, they trust you, and already have a relationship with you before they even meet you. What is the most efficient way to do this? Creating excellent digital content. I like podcasts. Duh, you're listening to one. And you're a part of one of the fastest growing mediums on the internet. As a part of the business plan I created for my company, I created a slide as a part of a grant pitch that illustrates how I am leveraging this very podcast across my channels. And there's a link to it in the description. Basically, this one podcast will be, well, obviously a podcast, but a blog post on my website. I'm going to cut it down to make a series of promos to advertise before the release date, social media posts of portions of the content, promo emails to my audience, future newsletter articles, add video, and you can do the same across even more platforms. Sure, this is a business, and I do want to make money, but my goal is to provide you, dear listener, something you will benefit from. By creating a mutually beneficial relationship with you, my goal is for you to share that information with your friends and associates, people who would benefit from it. The more educated you are, the more you can see a benefit in my products and services. Maybe you won't ever spend a penny with me, but one of your referrals might. Now that's another callback to the beginning of this episode. The most important thing a business can develop is a relationship. Now every business is different, as are the relationships. My friend Bill owns a construction company, and we were discussing online marketing and creativity. His belief was that he just wasn't creative. He was in construction, a hammer swinger. As we discussed his belief, the definition of creativity was very narrow. Creativity takes many forms. Yes, there's the art part, but more importantly, visualizing something in your world. In his case, visualizing how a building would look and function, solving a complicated problem with mechanicals, or developing a custom solution for a customer is also very creative. Furthermore, he still loves what he does after more than 30 years in the business and is comfortable speaking with clients and associates. The gap between Bill and digital content narrowed very significantly by changing the focus. And the last piece, sincerity. An audience knows when they're being sold to. You do. How many ads do you see and hear a day? Creating content for the sake of content is a waste of everyone's time and can actually hurt your organic SEO, SEM, marketing, and your brand. However, creating those mutually beneficial relationships unique to you and your business is absolute gold. So now you know about your online presence, relationships. I hope this information has been useful to you, and please reach out with any comments, suggestions, reviews, or feedback. I'm always available for that free 30-minute consultation at DrewVOX.me. That's DrewVOX.me. I would love to discuss your creation and help you where I can. Join me for the next time on DrewVOX Talks for Episode 5, How COVID Changed Businesses. I'm Drew Nageleisen. Let's go and create. What inspires you to create? I would love to hear your ideas. Would you like to be a guest? Join in on the conversation at DrewVOX.me on Facebook and Instagram, or send an email, create@DrewVOX.me. Please like, subscribe, and comment. DrewVOX Talks is available on Google and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your casts. If I can help with your creations, book a free 30-minute consultation at DrewVOX.me. Now go and create.